Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today we are going to discuss an important part of the Russia-Ukraine war, and that is the Wagner Group, or the PMC Wagner, private military company Wagner. Now its name has propped up recently, although it did remain into existence for a couple of years, since I think 2014. The Wagner Group's current owner is Yevgeny Prigozhin, who's basically a businessman and has a catering service. Somehow the West, has named him as the Putin's chef, whereas basically he has a catering company. Initially, the group was raised by a Spetsnaz and GRU Colonel Utkin, and later on it developed into a proper militia. Why it's important to understand the composition and operations of the Wagner Group is the reason that we have seen proxy warfare and use of non-state actors, organized non-state actors, in last I think 2 decades. You must have heard the name of the Blackwater, which operated in a number of countries, especially they gained traction in their operation in Iraq and later on in Afghanistan. They also have international operations in different parts of the world. Now, Wagner Group could be called an advanced and highly trained version of Blackwater, so as the Russian version is concerned. Now, looking at its rise, if you look at the strength, it is reported that in 2014 they had 250 members, and subsequently by 2017 this number had crossed 6,000, and now in Russia-Ukraine war, as we talk, January 2023, it is touching 50,000, and it has special forces and number of units, like they have a Serb unit, they even have an African unit, and then of course there are units which are basically from mainland Russia, and definitely from Central Asian republics as well. Now, as far as these operations are concerned, Wagner Group has been initially used in 2014 Crimea operations, and later on, if you followed the war, there were 2 breakaway republics or areas, Donbass, basically Donetsk and Luhansk, where there was a lot of urban warfare. So it became effective in that as well. As far as its training is concerned, this group has training center near St. Petersburg, and it's very interesting to find when you recruit. Mostly they are recruited from retired military, the Russian military, or let's say they are volunteers from other countries. When they land up in the training center, the recruits are not allowed to use any laptops or mobiles or internet. You are literally cut off, and then you have communication within the group. You are not allowed to basically keep a passport. This is deposited, and you are given a tag number. And basically, when you are in the operations, you are called by that tag number, and then there are nicknames, of course. Now, as far as its operations are concerned, it has gained traction recently in 2 major battles. One was the Solidar salt mines, which is east of the Dnieper River, and then was the city of Bakhmut, because in urban warfare you require some specialized troops to clear areas, and generally if you put in regular infantry you will have a lot of casualties. The Wagner Group has also got integrated with the Russian military as far as firepower is concerned, and some reports suggest that they even have an Air Force wing and a heliborne wing, because basically these are specialized troops. But the most important thing is the use of drone warfare and its collaboration with the Wagner Group. We've seen some videos on the YouTube which are coming from the battlefield, that how accurate targeting is done through use of drones, and how firepower as well as the special assault is carried out. I'm sure if they have 50,000, so they have components of the assault troops like Sappers, then they have equipment to cross buildings as well as certain water obstacles, swamps and marshes. As far as their code of conduct is concerned, the main thing is the Russian motherland. So you take an oath of allegiance that you will live and die and win for Russian Federation. So there's nothing else. It's not very clear how much they are paid, but an average Wagner soldier would be getting something closer to $2,000 to $2,500 per month, and of course their families are also looked after by Yevgeny Prigozhin and his business empire. Why corporate Russia was brought into this, let's say, war fighting, I think is the reason because the state may not be able to fund such groups because there could be complications. Then it's definitely labor intensive, it requires a lot of training, a lot of military hardware, so there has to be some expenditure. So that's how I think there was an idea that you bring in corporate Russia, especially tycoons like Prigozhin, and then you combine it with regular fighters. We've seen some videos near Bakhmut where even Prigozhin was attired in a combat dress and he was supposed to be leading and interacting with the soldiers on the battlefield. The Russian government has also awarded some of their top notches, the military awards for the defense of motherland, and Wagner Group has really made its name. Now, as far as the West is concerned, they have actually labeled it as a transnational criminal gang or organization, especially the US, and it is under a lot of sanctions. Recently, a Chinese satellite company was sanctioned for providing, SAR information. That's basically surveillance and reconnaissance, because definitely it gets some high-tech support from Russian and Chinese satellites. So this is one. Then of course there are certain countries like some Baltic states have declared them as a terrorist organization. Now, as far as their operations other than Ukraine are concerned, they have operated in most of Africa, at times in training missions, at times in operations. They have been present in Southern Africa, including Zimbabwe, maybe on training missions. And then they have also participated in Libya. They participated in Syria as far as Middle East is concerned. And they learned a lot, and that's how I think this was built up to be utilized for a war which was basically for the Russian national interest. Now, main thing to learn from Wagner Group is how non-state actors and private militias can help war fighting, and how well-trained soldiers, retired or serving, can get integrated into these groups, and how these groups then get integrated into conventional operations by the military. Especially, we've seen in last 2 decades that there were a lot of urban warfare. Even the US presence in Afghanistan saw a lot of urban warfare. It's a very difficult task, especially if you are launching an offensive. So you do require, some soldiers with a lot of guts. So you could always, I would even relate them to something like the Afghan Taliban as far as their mission is concerned. So which appears to be a private militia, but now they formed a government. So this is the importance of these private military companies, and we, I think, need to learn from it. Is that based on the veterans, Pakistan could also look at, forming these groups which are well trained, and then you can utilize your manpower and trained military, even retired personnel, integrate it with the main army, air force, and navy, and then utilize them for operations. Of course, there'll be training cost, and then you have to have motivated soldiers for that. So that was a small video basically to introduce the Wagner Group, and your comments are always welcome, and we would like your input on how did you like this video, and do you find it useful as general knowledge in this time of war and conflict. Thank you very much.